Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Carmen Bryant, Psychological Health Consultants and Services. I am the host of Redefining Yourself. This is a program that I developed for women that are thinking of leaving, needing more education, or have left or recovering from domestic violence. The type of domestic violence that I speak of is narcissist abuse. And so I am a narcissist abuse recovery specialist. And so I like to bring attention, I want to bring awareness, and I want to bring you education about narcissism and how narcissism affects family members. It is a mental health disorder. I've talked about it before. It is a mental health disorder, and many times we talk about how does, within the mental health or the clinical field, or the medical field, how someone, may have a terminal illness, how it affects the dynamics of a family, as a caregiver. That's why they have programs for caregivers to help them with respite care, or they have programs, people that have autism, or they may be cognitively or intellectually delayed, and they have programs to assist the families, schizophrenia, major depression, medical issues, cancer. How does this affect the family dynamics? It does affect the family dynamics. And so before I get started, let me say this. If you have not already subscribed to my channel, please go to my YouTube channel. It's Dr. Carmen Bryant, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. And then if you go to my Facebook page, it is Psychological Health Consultants and Services. Hit the like on the Facebook page and hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel and hit the bell so that you can hear the chime whenever I upload new videos or I come on live. I come on live on Sundays, usually about 8, 9 o'clock. Pacific Standard Time. I am on the West Coast, and I had the lady in Brazil, Oi. She's 6 hours ahead. Nova Scotia is 4 hours ahead. New York, the whole East Coast, and that side of the world is 3 hours ahead. Then you have, Texas. You have. Let me think. I think Mississippi, and then back in this direction, it's 2 hours ahead. So let's see if I can remember all the languages. Annyeonghaseyo, Korea, Hallo in German and in Holland, Oi in Brazil. Am I missing anything? Hola in Spanish. And any other language, come on, you guys bring it to me, okay? So as I was saying, today's topic is going to be narcissistic bosses. So someone asked me to talk about that, but I do want to say is that, mental health and medical health is really interconnected. And to all my new followers, thank you guys so much for following me. Thank you for the questions. Thank you guys for interacting with me. I did not want to not recall to say thank you guys for joining me. Thank you for being a part of my channel. Thank you for finding something that I have to say relevant to your situation or in your healing process. I hope that as you watch the videos, you begin to get more energy. Your self-esteem begins to lift, and you find out that you are valuable. Diamonds and precious stones are precious. You are a precious stone, and no one should handle you like a cubic zirconia or a piece of glass. And that's male and females alike. Precious stones are found deep within the earth, and so are you. A diamond is flawed, and when you look into whatever the little glass, the diamond glass or the diamond magnifying glass, the further flawed it is toward the middle of the diamond, the more valuable that diamond is. The more flawed it is to the upper surface, the less value it has. And so the more flawed you have become, the more human you are, but the more precious you are because you have life experience. So I want you to remember that, male and females alike, because narcissism happens to male and females. It doesn't matter. So back to what I was saying, you guys. So mental health, it works hand in hand. And so if you have those people that have like terminal illnesses or long-term illnesses, schizophrenia or mental health disorders, it does change the dynamic of the family. It changes how the family functions. Well, when you have a person with narcissistic personality disorder, which is a mental health disorder, their behaviors are unacceptable, put it that way. Their behavior unacceptable and is classified as domestic violence. They get their needs met, and they get worse in time. They get their needs met by manipulating, by bullying, by abusing, by lying, by cheating, any way possible, this type of disorder. And then some narcissists actually have psychopath, sociopath diagnoses as well, or tendencies. And they are all on the same playing field: narcissist, psychopath, sociopath, which is now called anti-personality disorder. And so think about a person with narcissistic personality disorder disrupts the entire family dynamic. And so a whole family that may decide to stay has to adjust their entire life to cater to the entitlements, the grandiosity, the unrealistic demands of a narcissist. And many people begin to change. And I will talk about some of those psychological or physiological changes that people go through. You can tell that when a person, you know that the person that they're getting with, whether it's your ex that you've discarded or they've discarded, you already know how you look coming out of the situation. And the longer you were in, it's almost like you kind of dried up, you're depressed, you're not lively like you once were. You may have lost weight, you may have gained weight, but you're not. If you look at your older pictures before the relationship, and I challenge you guys, go do that. Look at yourself and what you look like before you got into the relationship with the person, and then look at what you look like now. Not those that are recovering or are getting life back in, but look at some of the pictures while you were in the relationship with the narcissist, and you'll see how much you have changed. But this is how bad it can be being in a narcissistic relationship. And the thing about it is they get worse. The personality disorder does not change. And on top of that, you can't change them. They don't have the capacity to bond with people like the average person does. It doesn't have anything wrong with their oxytocin levels. It doesn't have anything wrong with their empathy and compassion. They're abnormal psychology. That's what it's called, abnormal psychology. They have a dysfunctional character flaw. And it is permanent and is probably caused by some type, not probably, but normally research. They can't point everything out because sometimes you have narcissistic parents and parents that cater to. The ones that I have met and the ones that I have diagnosed, all of them have confessed that they have been through some type of sexual trauma. I cannot speak for any other therapist because every other therapist have had their own experience. I just know the ones that I have dealt with, each and every one of them, it never fails, have had some type of sexual trauma. And so that is narcissism. So now let's talk about the narcissistic boss. Some of you have asked me to talk about the narcissistic boss. How many of you have worked for a narcissistic boss? And how bad can they get? Think about it. A narcissistic boss, if you have a boss that has several employees or manages, a certain amount of people, that's almost like free fish bait. That is, their sea of sources of supply to choose from, and a lot of times, that's why in the military we used to always say, I hate a brown noser, because a brown noser just, they're yes men, yes to everything, laugh at all your corny jokes, So when you're dealing with a narcissistic boss, they look for fuel. The greatest fuel that they can get is being in charge. It makes them feel empowered. A lot of them, most of them, will abuse their authority. A lot of them are not very honest people. I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them are not very honest people. They have a disregard for the people that work for them. They're very insensitive to the employees that are under them. Usually what happens is to get, let's say that you work for a corporation that has a high turnover rate. Or they have to fill those slots. A lot of times, and from my experience, what I've witnessed before, even in the military, if you have a very high turnover slot, if you have high turnover rate, there we go. If you have a very, very high turnover rate, you need to start looking at the management, not the employees, because something is wrong with the management. And in the military, we call it toxic leadership. And so what happens is they begin to do a lot of surveys. They begin to do, and it's under the Equal Opportunity Program in the military, where they begin to send out surveys to the soldiers, inquiring about leadership, acquiring about their experiences, acquiring about whether they're in a hostile work environment. Not all companies have adopted this, and some companies have. But then when you're dealing with a narcissistic boss, they also have the tendency to be able to persuade you or to convince you that it's not them, or it's like create that distraction, or even make you feel intimidated to be honest and tell what is going on in that environment. So let's look at some of this. I went to Psychology Today, Let me pull my cursor closer to me. Went to psychology today, so one of the things that I said as well is they're insensitive to employees. A common sign of narcissistic manager is a casual disregard of staff for the staff's reasonable feelings and needs. Unless you're one of his or her favorites, meaning that you cater to them, you'll do anything off the clock, do work overtime without getting paid. They give you work to do that's probably their work. And you make sure that they look good. You put 100,000% in it, and you make sure that they look good. So unless you're not doing that, catering to them or making them feel like they're Queen Bee or the King Pharaoh of Egypt, then they probably show an indifference towards you. Now, if they have more close proximity with you, they can literally begin to harass you or to smear you at a certain point. And we'll get to that. So let's see. So the narcissist boss may often show indifferences towards you as an individual, whether you're overstretched with work issues, feel ill, or just have a bad day. They may start off, remember, think about what we've been talking about when we're talking about narcissism. We're talking about how you were love bombed, how you were, how this illusion was set up that this individual is such a perfect person. They give you everything you want. They cater you. They idolize you. They put you on this pedestal. You're the most important thing in the world. That's the same thing a boss will do, trying to get you into the fold, get you into the harem, get you into this, as a flying monkey, as an entourage. They get you in and they tell you the things that you want to hear. They tell you about the pay, and especially those bosses that have control over your pay, whether they want to pay you high, so they can dangle that over your head. They make these, remember we were talking about this future faking. They make you these promises, or they start talking about the future and all the things that you can do, but it's all to get your loyalty. And so they'll make you look good. They'll talk good to you to other employees, especially if you have, that manager that has other different departments that they manage, they'll blow you up, make you look like this wonderful person. You're a great team player. We have an awesome person in here now. The team is getting ready to go here and there and there. But remember, if they do that and it's all, and they've inflated your head and you feel so wonderful, be prepared. There's a reason why they're doing it. And just as wonderful as they made you look, it's just as bad as they'll make you look when you don't fall in line with what they want, when you start to figure out who they are. So let's see. They use you as an extension of their own selfish agenda. So they have a tendency to exploit you for his or her selfish needs above and beyond your job description. Examples may include running personal errands, taking upon inappropriate chores, working on pet projects, or assuming part of their responsibility, all without appropriate compensation or acknowledgement. So they'll ask you to do things off the clock. They'll ask you to do things over the weekends when you're not scheduled to work. They'll ask you, do me a favor, can you go do this? Can you buy this and I'll pay you back? If you do this, I'll make sure you're reimbursed. So they'll have you doing things, but you also be careful too, because they can also use that against you eventually. If you're doing something and you may be, or they may tell you, don't worry about it, I'll clock you out, or don't worry about this, I got you covered. Be prepared that they can use that against you. I know a young lady that worked with the boss, and she was being harassed by someone, not on the job, but someone within the place where they were working, where they were set up to work. And it was a big concern, and so of course the narcissistic manager expressed a lot of concern, got her connected with the right people to make sure that she was protected. Well, later on, it was held against her. It was held against her, and she was told that you would come in late for work, but remember the boss had approved her. She talked to her on the phone and approved her, hey, I'm afraid to go in here. Don't worry about it. Just sit there for a minute. Let me call in, have somebody this, that, or don't worry, just work from home today. Take your computer, do whatever. And then later on, it was used against her whenever that individual stood up to the boss. It was used against her as a infraction to try to get her fired, when all along the boss was the one that was taking charge. Even though there were certain things that she wasn't authorized to do, she was taking charge and doing it anyway, but then used it against the employee. later on. So be careful. You know, when you're trying to do favors and you really love your boss, you know, you really need to watch their character. Look how they handle other people. Watch how they handle other people. And you know, I'm not saying gossip. You know, you don't listen to gossip. You know, don't get involved with gossip. But you know, when you hear people complaining, you're like, oh my gosh, is it, you know, kind of keep your ear open to that to see, you know, what is going on. You know, listen to what's being said. Sometimes people won't say anything. When you see people very hesitant or reserved about saying something, that might be a red flag. Okay, so now let's look. Name and status dropping. Some narcissist managers have a habit of name and status dropping. They like to remind people of how important they are, who they're connected to, who they've talked to, who they collaborate with to make this happen for the team. You know, they talk about the prestigious schools they're in, the VIPs they mingle with, the high-profile projects they're working on, monetary amounts, you know, monetary amount of $1 million projects. They exaggerate. They do blow up a lot of things, and they exaggerate in order to make you idolize them. So let's see. Some other things now. One of the things that was said here, you know, when you have your own office or you're in your own little space, you like to put your, you know, your credentials on the wall, you know, where you graduated from, you know, but a narcissist is overboard. It's almost like you walk in, it's a shrine built to them. So when you walk in, you can't help but see how wonderful they are and how prestigious and how educated and adventurous they are. They have pictures of, you know, high profile people that they've been included with, you know, and like I said, there's nothing wrong, you know, the normal person putting stuff up. Of course, memorabilia wall, there's nothing wrong with that, you know, but the narcissist, they will go overboard. It's almost like when you walk in, it's like in your face, to let you know how little you are to them. Spotlight hogger. So they like to hear themselves talk. So they'll put you on these long, drawn out, like conference calls or meetings, or they have a habit of dominating meetings. They have a habit of, like, if they've asked you to do a presentation, they interrupt your presentations. They, you know, they make themselves look bad in front of dignitaries that kind of watch, that are, you know, depending on the type of narcissist they are, because remember, you still got levels of narcissism. And so when you're talking about low to mid-grade type narcissists, they kind of make themselves look bad, but they don't realize they do. And when they're around other prestigious people, they take note, they watch, they take note, but they don't realize it. And so your best bet as an employee, a lot of times, if you kind of get the feel of the dignitaries around it, don't think that they're not watching. Not all people are going to say something, but don't think that they're not watching. A lot of times they're watching to see how you respond. And a lot of narcissist bosses do know that a lot of people need that job to pay bills, need that job to survive, need that job to support their families. And so they'll do anything to try to keep that job because it brings finances and stability in the home. So they take advantage of that because they know that you're not going to go anywhere and you allow the abuse, and you're afraid to speak up. They make you afraid to speak up because in their own little coded way, they just let you know that I'll get you if you do. Or they make little snide remarks, you know, somebody, and you're no longer allowed to talk to, and you need to disconnect, and, you know, this is what's going on, and someone has been. And a lot of times they're talking about you. They'll get into, you know, if they are upset at you, or if you have caused a narcissistic injury by standing up for yourself. Sorry, you guys, I'm trying to get my little pom-pom back together over here. Sorry about that. Got distracted. A lot of times they'll, you know, if you have caused a narcissistic injury by standing on your feet or disagreeing with them or calling them out or something, and even if in a private way, what they'll do is they'll get in front of a crowd, whether it's a dinner, you know, a dinner with the rest of the departments, whether it's in front of people, whether it's during a class, you know, and then they try to call you out. They make little snide remarks, they'll make little comments where you know that they're talking about you, or other people kind of put two and two together to know that you're talking about you, and someone is this email, and if you do this and that and this, really they make a fool of themselves. So it's best for you to just play cool and don't say anything at all. Let them look stupid, you know. Now, I'm not saying to let them run over you. I'm not saying not to go to HR or to go to the ethics. If you have an ethics committee or ethics board or something, some certain contractors, they have that, and to file a grievance. There's nothing wrong with that because you have the right to live a stress-free, toxic-free, harassment-free, bullying-free environment. And it is your right to stand on your feet and to make sure that your rights are not violated. And they don't like that when you do that. And so they'll do things to harass you and what is it called? To retaliate against you. And they'll try to publicly humiliate you and smear you in front of people without even saying your name. But they know that they're talking about you. So let's see. They like to be disrupted and put others down. They'll send like emails, and they'll like highlight your mistakes or say something about you or make you look bad just because. But that's in their character. People know that some people are afraid to say anything, And so just be careful when you retaliate, or if you retaliate, save the emails, and go to HR, go to human resources, go to EEO, and file a grievance. Let's see. They're reluctant to give you credit. So a lot of times they'll take the credit for what you're doing. They'll take the credit. They're not good team players. In the military, one thing that we used to teach the leaders is, and same thing that my mentor teaches the leaders now, is that, you don't have to get the credit. You don't always have to get the credit for everything. A good leader understands that a good leader becomes a good leader because they have a good team. Sometimes your team is smarter than you. Sometimes your team knows more than you do. But as a leader, you may have more experience and you understand the broad picture of things. You have more experience within that area. But each individual may be experienced in certain thing that creates a whole. And so a narcissistic leader doesn't look like that. They look at is you're outshining them. Remember I said yesterday in the video, they're always competing. They're always in competition. And so they always assume that you're competing with them. So you come on and you have a great skill set for this that you can help and build the team. But it makes the leader look good because they have a awesome team. And to make the team feel good and they feel valued is for the leader to say, no, it's not me, it's my team. This is the team. I just lead an awesome team and these are awesome people. And these guys are the ones that make it happen. And I'm so honored to lead them. A narcissist can't do that. They have to take the credit for everything. They can't let anyone outshine them. They can't. It's a competition thing. And bosses, narcissistic bosses, a lot of them are not like that. They need to make sure that everybody knows because their brilliant leadership is because this is what happened. And so it's hard for them to give you credit for good performance because it takes something away from them. It's hard to give you credit and make sure people know how awesome you did because it takes away from the limelight that they're in. The beautiful light that's shining from the top of the earth down, and it hovers around them like a halo. They don't want to step out of that limelight. Let's see. Steal or take disproportional credit. Just said that. So they'll take... like say an employee comes up with a really great idea and present it to the manager, and the manager may blow it off, but then all of a sudden you see it again on a PowerPoint, and the manager has taken credit for your idea. They'll do that. Break rules and ethical norms. So they feel entitled. Remember, they feel entitled and they're special. And remember, nothing can happen to them in their minds. And so they take advantage of people and the system. That ranges from abusing business expenses to falsifying productivity reports to concocting unethical marketing schemes, committing white-collar crimes. Many narcissists think that they are above the law and should be an exception to the rules. So they make rules as they go. They don't have to comply to the rules that are already there. And some of them know how good to do it. They really know how to do it where it's hard to get caught until they meet maybe an employee that is under their supervision that catches on. Well, what do you think happens? The narcissist has to get rid of that person. So of course now there's a smear campaign launch, and usually what happens is if the manager doesn't have firing power, then what they'll do is they put enough pressure on the employees to force them to leave. And most of them don't even want, they just want to get away because there's too much stress and pressure, so they'll get away. So they know that they don't have firing power. They have to take that, save union jobs, or where it takes other people to make a decision on whether or not that person should be fired, and what have you done to correct it. But if you have one that's fighting back with you, it makes it a little hard, so they put a lot of pressure on you, for you to quit. So like I said, there are ways to file grievances. They're sensitive to criticism and blame for blame others for failing. So they don't take accountability. So the narcissistic bosses doesn't take accountability either. And then if someone is criticizing their leadership, because sometimes they come into a position and they don't know what they're doing. They're just flying by the seat of their pants. And some of them do know what they're doing. But to receive negative feedback, you have to be able to take constructive criticism as a supervisor. You have to, in order to grow yourself. And so to take constructive criticism is, okay, I need to lighten up on here. Okay, I need to change this. Okay, so just like you're expecting the employees to change, the manager has to be able to receive feedback from the employees, whether it's their behavior, and they have to be able to make changes just like them. You have to show that you walk by example. And if you're expecting them to change, you have to expect, you have to be able to be receptive to feedback. But they can't accept negative feedback, period, constructive criticism. And so even when reasonable and justified, it threatens their fragile sense of an idealized self, risking triggering narcissist injury. So that's a narc injury to them. Common responses to criticism includes anger, pretend indifferences, excuses, and rage. They will rage. In addition, many narcissists are highly adept to blaming others for their own shortcomings. Yes, they don't take. I don't know if you recall a long time ago when General Colin Powell was in position and President Bush was president. Honorable General Colin Powell made a mistake. But instead of President Bush getting on national television and blaming Colin Powell for the mistake that he had made, President Bush took responsibility as the chief of staff and took full responsibility for the mistake. That was very honorable, because in the military we learned that too. And I used to tell my soldiers, I'm going to work with you whether you're wrong or right, just be honest with me. And I would take accountability for my soldiers' actions, whether they were wrong or whether they were right, and I would let them know, you come talk to me, and then I will go and discipline my soldiers. Same like a parent, if your child is wrong or right, you will take accountability, and I'll make sure I go and talk to my child to make sure that, we correct this mistake. But that's leadership. Well, the same in the workplace. I will take responsibility for what is going on in this department. Let me see what is going on if this has failed. No, they'll point out people. So, but that's not a good team player. That doesn't make the team feel secure, but that's how a narcissist is. It's always somebody else's fault. Let's see. Superior and inferior orientation. So it says many narcissistic managers are unable to relate to individuals as equals. They either take an inferior position to deter those in higher positions, or, let's see, superior positions and presume that they're in some ways better than you. Of course. Let's see. So for both the superior and inferior postures that they take, they're calculated to sway you to give them what they want, such in the purpose of relationships to them. They lack empathy and humanity and treat people simply as equitable human beings. You're just disposable. You're disposable to them. Negative and toxic emotion. A lot of negative bosses or narcissistic bosses enjoy spreading and arousing negative emotions to gain attention. They feel attention, feel power, and keep you insecure and off balance. They're easily upset at any real or perceived slights, or inattentiveness. They may throw a tantrum if you disagree with their views or fail to meet their expectations, and they're quick to judge, criticize, and ridicule. And some of them are emotionally abusive. Some narcissistic bosses will purposely cause chaos and confusion within the departments so that they can come in and rescue and look like a hero. But what they'll do is they'll pull people aside, personally call them and talk to them to find out what's going on and what's being said about them. Then they'll get the person that they're talking to side with them, and offer them things, or offer them a position, or offer them, a promotion. But they will, and then they'll call another employee, but they'll kind of spar the department against each other so that they can come in and look like a hero, or they will, if it's different departments, they'll cause different departments to go against each other. They are walking chaos. They're walking confusion. And if all attention is not focused on them, and say that department has a leader within the department that everyone grows close to and everything can move, and common sense, that's how in the military it is. You have the first sergeant, you have the platoon sergeant of different platoons with maybe 30 to 60 individuals in the platoon, and then you have squad leaders of squads, which may be like 7 to 10 people in each squad. And then you have section sergeants. And so those people in the squad may work in different sections. Well, they have a section leader that leads the section. Then you may have a squad leader that accounts for the people that are in the squad, make sure that they have their, personal finances, legal, leave forms, all that stuff taken care of. You have a platoon sergeant that relies on the squad leaders to make sure the entire platoon is taken care of. Then you have the first sergeant that relies on the platoon sergeants to take care of their platoons and bring the bigger problems to them. Well, narcissists don't see it that way. Say you have a platoon sergeant and, the platoon really loves the platoon sergeant, is a dynamic leader, and they love that platoon sergeant. Well, a narcissist, let's say if a narcissist was a first sergeant, the narcissist will have a problem with that because they want all the attention focused on them. So they will purposely, pull soldiers out to cause disgruntlement or chaos or disruption within that platoon to mess up that cohesive team. A narcissist boss is the same way within the departments. They cannot bear not to get all the attention. And so that is my video today on narcissist bosses. Hopefully I've answered a question for you. I cannot recall who asked me to do the video, but hopefully it answered your question. I think you emailed me. Hopefully that answered your question. I do have other topics. Someone asked me to talk about narcissistic siblings, and I will talk about narcissistic siblings as well. Thank you guys so much for the topics that you guys send me and the email you guys send me and the support you give me. I'm really honored. I thank you guys so much. I really do. This is really awesome. I enjoy talking to you guys. I love researching. I'm learning while you're learning. We have gentlemen, the kings that are on here on the YouTube channel. I am so honored that you guys would join us and even share your experiences, because narcissist is not just a female-male thing. It's a female and male thing. So it doesn't matter. Like I always joke, and I said I thought my cat was, a narcissist at first until I realized he was just hungry. But, a narcissist is not a female-male thing. Now, it is, I do talk about the female experience, but I'm so thankful that I have kings on this, and I call you kings because that's what you guys are. Kings on this YouTube channel that are willing to share their stories, that are willing to let us women know what it's like to have been in a relationship with a narcissistic female. And I'm really honored because I learned more. I have experiences, I have watched, I have counseled, but you guys bring me intimate details and information about what you've been through and the pain that you've suffered or how you've gotten beyond it. And one thing that I usually teach, and one thing that I've heard a leader say before, a well-known leader say, is that, and several well-known leaders that I heard say this, is that, because women are nurturers, we tend to nurture things too long. So you have to be careful, because we also tend to nurture pain too long. And this type of pain is really totally different than the average breakup pain or domestic violence pain. Narcissist pain is sometimes it does take a long time to recover from this, because this is really a diabolical type of attack on you, and so it takes longer because you probably have been wounded within your life as well, but it takes longer to heal from this. And for women, because we are nurturers, we tend to nurture things too long. We nurture thoughts too long. We nurture pain too long. So sometimes it becomes complicated for us to go through that healing process. And we tend to grieve long, and we tend to grieve long and hard. Once we get past the long and hard grieving, we're okay. Once we get beyond that, we're okay. I'm glad I went through it. It's over with. For men, they tend to grieve they tend to grieve very hard, but a very short period of time. They grieve hard and short, and then they move on. But like I said, when you implement narcissist abuse in there, it does have an effect. It leaves residual debris behind that takes time to uproot all that stuff out of your head, to uproot all that stuff out of your heart and out of your soul, because that was a very painful impact, on your emotions, on your life, on your children, on your businesses. Some of your money has been affected. Businesses has been affected. Come on, we can do this. We're going to get back on our feet, and 2019 is our year. We're going to make this happen again. We're going to be great in 2019. And I thank you guys for supporting me. Please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dr. Carmen Bryant, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. Excuse me. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you know whenever I upload new videos, when I come on live. Sometimes I may come on live during the weekday if I have the opportunity to do so. And if you would like to follow me on my professional Facebook page, it is Psychological Health Consultants and Services. Hit the thumbs up button so that you can follow. I post on both channels. Sometimes if I travel, though, I may not be able to go but on one channel live, and that's usually on the YouTube. I come to the YouTube channel and I come live, but then I usually go repost on Facebook. You guys stay tuned because I am setting up my coaching program. I do want to ask a question to my viewers. I'm working with my partner on creating my radio station. I'm going to have a radio station, guys, and so under podcast. And so I want to know, you guys email me or you just comment on the YouTube channel, how many of you guys would be willing, I don't know if it'll be pre-recorded or live at the same time. It may be pre-recorded depending on how we put it together. But how many of you would be willing, I get to hear your voice for the first time. You get to tell me who you are, but you don't have to tell everybody who you are. But willing to call in and ask at least 3 questions. And so when I go live, I can go and ask these questions. I'm answering your questions, on radio. So how many of you guys will be willing to do that with me? Able to ask me questions. I can answer the questions live. You'll have it on podcast, the radio. We can do this. How many of you guys will be willing to do that with me? And those of you, how many of you guys are, email me, Dr. Carmen Bryant, DrCarmenBryant at outlook.com. How many of you would like to benefit from coaching? It'll be a nominal fee. There's different package plans that I will be offering, different things that I will be doing. I'm getting a handle on my publisher with my books so we can get the book out, but then I'll also be creating ebooks and workbooks for you guys to have, and short books for you guys to have in your repertoire of reading collections, so that you can begin your healing process. And of course, with the coaching, it will be, we're going to make you great. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make ourselves great, okay? And we're going to heal. And some of you guys just need to get back on your feet and be great. That's what you need to do. And so some of you can benefit from coaching. But, let me know. How many of you guys be willing to call in and ask questions so that we can do radio live? And how many of you are interested in coaching? Dr. Carmen Bryant at outlook.com. Okay, you guys email me or comment on YouTube. How many of you guys would be interested in coaching or group coaching? Let me know. And I am getting it together now, and I'm so appreciative. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. And you guys, as my friend always says, go and be great.